Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lysha, the owner and maker of Lysha Be Creative, and today's tutorial is yet another tumbler tutorial. So I'm going to be using some brand new products, vinyl actually, from Ahijoy vinyl, and so I'm going to be putting together this like leopard Christmas reverse ombre cup, and I'm really excited to share with you how I put it together, what I think of the vinyl that I was sent, and of course give you my honest review of this product. So of course everything that I use in today's tutorial for today's video will be listed and linked down in the description box down below. Be sure to check that description box out for discount codes as well as links to all of my social media. So let's go ahead and jump right into today's tutorial. All right, so as I said, I got some of these vinyls from Ahijoy vinyl, and so this is me unpackaging my box here, or my package of vinyl. I selected 3 from their website, and you guys have actually already seen me use the black and white plaid that I was sent. We're going to be using this leopard print one for today's tutorial, but I also did get a third vinyl which you have not yet seen, and I have not actually yet used, which is this beautiful like holographic pink. So I've yet to put this on a cup, but I already have a few ideas. So let's go ahead and jump into the first steps of this tutorial. So of course we're starting with a prepped cup. So I have a 32-ounce taper there from Maker Flow Crafts that I've already sanded and applied flat white spray paint to. So now that we're going to kind of undo this vinyl here and get this ready to go. This is their leopard print. I think it's called a leather adhesive. It's actually a very thick vinyl. It is transparent, which worked in my favor because I was using a white base as my cup, but something I didn't realize when I originally selected this vinyl to be sent to me. So because we're doing a tapered cup, this is a really good type of vinyl to be using as far as a very busy print like this, because you're less likely really to be able to see the seam as well. Now of course we're going to be covering this up with some vinyl and glitter and, you know, lots of other kind of colors to kind of not really show the seam anyway. But if you're going to be doing a full wrapped cup, I definitely like to gravitate towards the patterns that are a little bit busier. That way it's not so noticeable when your print doesn't line up on the back side. So I'm just making sure I have more than enough of the vinyl that I've cut from the roll to be able to use for the entire seam of the cup. And so of course we're going to do this full wrap. Because this is a little bit of a thicker vinyl, I did struggle to get the vinyl to stay down as I was trying to adhere one side. And of course, using a taper, we have to be mindful and make sure that we have enough vinyl that both sides are going to meet. But I also try and make sure that I have a lot of excess up top and along the bottom, just to make sure that there aren't little sections that don't end up being covered with the vinyl. So we're just going to wrap this all the way around the cup. And because it was thicker, that actually worked in my favor as far as getting this wrapped around the cup. I didn't really have to worry about bubbles or worry about any sort of wrinkling like I would with normal traditional pattern vinyl. So that actually worked in my favor. I wanted though to still use my squeegee, do the same process that I would, and really like test out this vinyl to see how well it would work for me. And I really wasn't disappointed by any means with how easy this was to get applied to my tumbler. So once I meet this on the other side, we're just going to take a craft knife and of course cut along the seam there, overlapping it just slightly in this section area to make sure that I don't have any of the white spray paint underneath the vinyl exposed. Once we've gotten that removed, I'm going to do the exact same thing with the top and bottom, just trimming off all of the excess of vinyl that's both on the top and bottom. So what I've been doing most recently to kind of tape or to kind of cut the bottom edge of my vinyl is just been using painter's tape. I do have a cup edging tool, but it's a little bit hard to use when I have so much excess vinyl towards the bottom. So what I typically do now is just to use a piece of painter's tape to kind of be my guide, and then I just use my craft knife to kind of drag along the bottom edge of that tape to get a nice clean line along the bottom and not have to worry about breaking out my my cup edging tool and getting sort of a weird hot mess because of how much excess vinyl is down there. This is not a vinyl that easily is able to be pulled over the top or bottom edge. With printed vinyl, you guys typically will see me, pull on the vinyl very tautly over the top edge, but this is a much thicker vinyl since it's a leather adhesive. So you definitely want to make sure that you do something more or less like this route, or just, kind of dragging your craft knife along the top edge in order to get the excess cut. I did find that this was the easiest way to get the excess vinyl removed from both the top and bottom to make sure I didn't end up introducing any wrinkles or any areas where the vinyl might scrunch up and allow for epoxy to get underneath. So once we get all of that removed, I'm just going to remove this tape. And because we're going to be treating this as a peekaboo, I'm going to go ahead and add a couple layers of epoxy before we move into the next steps in the process. So now we're on to the next step, and you guys have seen here that I already have my vinyl cut on some stencil vinyl. So I'm not including a Cricut tutorial here, but this is the image that I grabbed up from Creative Fabrica for the leopard print file I'm using. It has both leopard print as well as the cute Christmas trees to go with it. And so this is a 2-part SVG file, so I am able to just weld the 2 sections together in order to give me these solid shapes. So that's exactly what I did, and then I just cut this on an entire 12 by 12 sheet of stencil vinyl, and then I just grabbed a rectangle from the shapes feature in Cricut Design Space and was able to get a nice rectangular shape to be able to use for where my Merry wording is going to be going. So now we're going to apply all of the stencil vinyl to the cup here. And so you could certainly wrap it. I like to do this section by section when I'm applying my leopard print. It just makes it easier. I knew that I was going to be using 2 different colors when we go to do the offset feature of the leopard print file. So I didn't have to worry about, necessarily making sure, which sections of the vinyl I was using. So I like to just kind of cut it section by section and then just use transfer tape to get it onto the cup. I hope that makes sense. It'll probably make sense as you watch me do it, more so than what I'm saying to you in my voiceover. So hopefully this is kind of helpful to be able to see kind of what I'm doing. So I just want to apply all of the leopard print to the entire cup, making sure to cover up as much of the cup as I can with the vinyl, because once we turn this into a peekaboo, what the stencil vinyl is covering is the only section of this leopard print vinyl underneath that we're going to be able to see. So I'm just going to apply this section by section, as I've now mentioned 3 times, I think, in my voiceover so far. So stencil vinyl is my go-to vinyl for when I'm using peekaboos. I know sometimes people like to use removable vinyl, and I think that's good to use kind of in a pinch, but I really do like the way that removable vinyl, or stencil vinyl, removes from the cup when it's time to, get that vinyl off to move on to the next step. It's less likely to leave behind any of that sticky residue from, the back side of the vinyl. And I just feel like I get a really nice clean look and don't struggle as much trying to get the stencil vinyl removed versus when I try and use, a removable vinyl in order to do a peekaboo. So I'm going to finish up this. I'm not going to make you watch the entire thing, but literally just go section by section until you get all the way around the cup. And then I just kind of would use a few extra pieces to cover up any sections that I needed to still have covered if there was any gaps in between the sections that I'm doing this with transfer tape. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to show you the 2 spray paint colors that we're going to be using to spray paint this. That way we can get this ready for our glitter. So I'm going to go with a gray and black look for this leopard peekaboo just to kind of match the aesthetic. But before we go out to spray paint, I am going to use some hot glue, and I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue on all of the spots that I have put on the cup with stencil vinyl. And the reason why I'm doing this is I'm sure you may have seen this already before in other tutorials from other makers, but this is a great way when you know your top layer is going to be glitter to be able to help you better find your stencil pieces or your removable vinyl underneath all of the glitter and paint. So this is something that I need to get better at doing, because I am one who will forget to do this step and then struggle to find all of the little pieces of vinyl that I can't see under the glitter layer. But this is a great way, because then you're able to just stick your, your weeding tool or whatever you're using to remove your stencils into this kind of hot glued section and be able to remove it a lot easier than trying to, navigate and find with your weeding tool the edge of that stencil vinyl, and then of course scratching the surface or removing some glitter in the process. So of course I'm not going to make you watch this entire thing, but this is just something that is something I don't think I've ever shown in my videos or my tutorials, and it really is super helpful when you're doing a peekaboo. So let's go ahead, and we are going to get this spray painted outside, a nice ombre of gray and black, and then we're going to come in and of course remove all of the stencil. So now back inside, this is what the cup looks like after the spray painting. And so we're going to be using some glitter, of course, to cover over top before we go ahead and remove the stencil vinyl. So I'm going to go in with a layer of some Mod Podge here, of course, and I'm going to use my makeup brush here to get this evenly kind of spread throughout the cup. I am going with a little bit of a thicker layer because I struggle a little bit when it comes to using Mod Podge for my ombres, because the Mod Podge tries to dry on me before I'm ready to be done with the glittering process. So I try and go a little heavy-handed when it comes to the amount of glitter, or the amount of glue, I should say, that I'm putting on the cup. And this just helps me to be able to make sure that the Mod Podge stays wet enough in order for me to get through the 4 different glitters that I'm going to be using. So of course you could also use epoxy method. I really haven't shown that much on my channel recently. It just has been a lot easier to use Mod Podge, even though it's not my favorite way to glitter a cup. But you can always use the epoxy method, which I have several videos on my channel to show you how to apply glitter using the epoxy method. So once I've gotten this, nicely based with my Mod Podge, we're going to go in with Caviar from Peachy Olive Glitters. This is a chunkier black on this bottom section here, and we're also going to douse a little bit of the bottom with that color as well. On top here, we're going to start with a chunky silver holographic, which is Paris from Peachy Olive Glitter, and that's just going to help me, of course, build that depth to be able to really just give this cup a little bit more pizzazz or oomph. I really just like building upon my colors, and the way that I can do that is to use similar colors in different cuts, and you really get this really beautiful dimension. This color that I'm using that's in the bag is from Glitterati Co. It's actually the first time I've purchased from them, but I heard from a friend that I needed to grab up this color, and this is Obsidian. So this is Obsidian from Glitterati Co., and I really do love this. It gives me such a beautiful vibe for black, because black typically can look pretty, stale under epoxy if it's a solid black, but I love that it has that extra sparkle and shine to really just give this black like that extra pizzazz that I need. And then of course going over the top with a fine silver cut of glitter, 357 Magnum from Peachy Olive Glitter, just to kind of round everything out. So I just want to make sure I have full coverage, of course, along the entire cup. I'm going to set this aside, get the glitter picked up, and then of course now it's on to removing our stencils. So of course I wasn't going to let you sit there and watch me painfully try to remove these, because it actually took me a little longer than I'm used to. But I was able to successfully get all of the stencil pieces removed. And so here's a look at that. Just take your time with it, be patient. Definitely having those glue dots was so helpful in order to make sure that I really did get everything removed. So we're going to let that dry, take it outside, and spray seal it a couple times with some clear gloss spray paint before we get it under air coats of epoxy here. So now you see me applying the vinyl. And so like I mentioned with this file, it comes with 2 parts. So this is the top layer, or the offset feature of the leopard print file that we're using to be able to apply around the different leopard print spots on the cup. So this is like a double leopard print, and originally I thought this design was going to be a reverse ombre leopard print, which is something that I really love doing with just a traditional leopard print style cup. But I decided that because we were going to be using this leopard print file, or this leopard print vinyl from Ahijoy, that I would do kind of the ombre look on top of that versus trying to create a double leopard look underneath, if that makes sense. Probably makes no sense. But if you've seen any of my other work on my Instagram or on Facebook, I really do love doing anything with leopard print, and I love to incorporate as many colors as possible. And so this, I was able to kind of skip that step because I already had this really beautiful leopard print vinyl to be able to use, and then add the leopard print over top as sort of the accent. And so I'm just taking both sheets of vinyl here. So I've cut this file on both black vinyl as well as some gray silver metallic-ish vinyl that we're going to be using. So the idea here is that of course we're going to apply the black vinyl spots to the top section and then apply the silver vinyl spots to the black section down below. So that's kind of what I'm doing here with this file. And because I'm not really following the same pattern that I did when I applied the stencil, all I'm doing is finding different pieces of the offset of the leopard print and finding ones that are large enough to fit around the different larger leopard print spots we had on the cup with the stencil vinyl. So I'm going to finish this up, of course, and we're going to then just kind of get that done, and then I can move on to the front section, that large rectangular shape that we're going to be adding a little bit of a, frame to, and our word Mary. So let's finish this up, and we're going to move right into getting the Mary on the front done. So for this section of the cup, what I ended up doing here in Cricut Design Space is I just took that rectangular shape in Cricut. So just took a shape, sized kind of what I felt like I wanted that shape size to be. And then all I did was take an offset of the rectangle. And then with that, I sliced the offset on the original rectangular, which gives me this bracket, okay? Because you're just going to delete or remove all the other sections. So I will be putting together a tutorial very soon that's going to show you how to do kind of these offset features in Cricut. Now, of course, Cricut does have the offset feature, but I know sometimes it can be kind of confusing with how you can use the offset feature to help you create something like a peekaboo like this, where there sometimes are a couple extra steps that sometimes it's easier to see than have someone explain to you, if that makes sense. So I will be putting that together. I'm just trying to get a really simple and easy cup to go with it so that it makes sense as I kind of walk you through that piece in Cricut. So I'm going to just apply the frame, of course, to that middle section there. And then what I ended up doing is cutting just the word Mary in a vertical form on this shimmer vinyl from Tech Wrap Craft. I ended up changing my mind and going back and cutting it on the metallic silver vinyl that I love from Cricut. And because it didn't really pop when it was just black. And so I think if I were to go back and redo this cup, I probably would do an offset of the Mary word in the section just so that it pops a little bit better on top of the leopard print vinyl. But I still think that it came out super cute, but I was kind of contemplating like what color would be perfect to go in the center to really kind of give this, that outstanding like wow factor. But anyway, so we're going to just apply this right to the center of the cup. Again, I do switch it and I don't show you that, but really very simply, I'm just going to take this Mary, I'm going to put a piece of transfer tape over it, put it on top of the cup right in that middle section that's all leopard print. And then the final thing that I do before I put this cup on the turner is that I am going to apply a little bit of polyacrylic to the entire cup because I want to make sure that I don't have any issues with my vinyl lifting. So I also really had an idea after the fact too that I thought would look super cute would be to add a little bit of rhinestones to either the frame on the front of the cup or to all of the leopard spots. So I am still contemplating if I'm going to do that, but I didn't do that for this tutorial. But that is also an idea that did kind of come to my mind as I was creating this cup. It's just so much fun to be able to create these tutorials because I always have fantastic ideas either after the fact or during. That kind of just encourages me to just try something new, do something different, add a little bit more to just kind of, take the cup to the next level. So of course, I wanted to also just show you guys what this looks like at the end. I really enjoy how this one came out. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's tutorial, and I hope that you check out Ahijoy vinyl. So I really did have a pleasure using the vinyl, and I can't wait to use the pink holographic one very soon. And definitely, if you're interested in trying out this vinyl, there is a link and discount code down in the description box down below that you can go ahead and use if you'd like to try out this vinyl. I did really enjoy it. I encourage you to try it if you're really looking into new, different, cool pattern vinyls, or just a little bit something different than what you're used to picking up. But again, I hope that you guys enjoyed today's tutorial. I'm definitely done rambling. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of get out of here, but thank you guys so much for watching today's video. And of course, if you loved it, give this video a huge thumbs up and of course, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.